So thank you all for coming, everybody with us on Zoom and people watching on YouTube. Thank you all very much. So I'm going to recite several of the opening prayers just to set our motivation. We took a week off and just to kind of refresh ourselves with our motivation for our discussion and teachings and practices. So, all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Buddhahood. The Action Bodhicitta Prayer. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. And then we'll go to the short refuge prayer and ask Geshe La, would you please recite the refuge prayer for us in Tibetan? Geshe.
Samje Choedup Choedup Chonamla Janchu Bado Dana Japsunche Dage Jingso Jibe Sonamji Nrola Penshera Samje Rupa Shows.
Thank you, Tukshize. And would you also recite the 4 immeasurables for us, please, in Tibetan?
Ma Nangha Ta Nyambe Semje Tamje Dewa Tam Devi Jodan Dembar Juji Dunge Ta Dunge Je Jodan Tewar Juji Dunge Mepe Dewa Tam Mendewar Juji Niri Chadam Nida Trave Tamnyola Nepar Juji. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so let me just move this. Okay, so here's Kunga is with us, so that's good. So what we need to do, Alex, do you have your 37 practices with you? Alex is trying to, there it is.
Sorry, not at this point. I had trouble finding my microphone.
Okay. I was going to ask
but
you.
I have them on my cell phone. I can pull them out.
Or can you read the screen? If I put it up on the screen share, can you read?
Yes, I can do that.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you, if you would, to read the opening of the 37 practices, to read the homage, and to read through the first 9 of the verses. If you could do that, the Vajra points of the 37 practices.
Yes, with pleasure. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to put this up on the screen share, I hope. Yeah. There we are. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. Let me just. Okay. So, Alex, would you recite that then through number 9?
No. Inclusive. Or up to number 9.
Up to and including number 9.
Okay. The 37 Bodhisattva practices by Gyaltsab Togme Zanpo. Homage to Lokeshwaraya. At all times, I prostrate with respectful three doors of body, speech, and mind to the Supreme Guru and the Protector Chenrezig, who through realizing that all phenomena neither come nor go, make single-minded effort for the sake of all sentient beings. The perfect Buddhas, source of benefit and happiness, arise from accomplishing the sublime Dharma. And that accomplishment depends on knowing the Dharma practices. I will explain the Bodhisattva's practices. First, at this time, when the difficult to gain sip of leisure and fortune has been obtained, ceaselessly hearing, pondering, and meditating day and night in order to liberate oneself and others from the oceans of cyclic existence is the Bodhisattva's practice. Second, the mind of attachment to loved ones wavers like water. The mind of hatred of enemies burns like fire. The mind of ignorance, which forgets what to adopt and what to discard, is greatly obscured. Abandoning one's fatherland is the Bodhisattva's practice. Third, when harmful places are abandoned, disturbing emotions gradually diminish. Without distraction, virtuous endeavors naturally increase. Being clear-minded, definite understanding of the Dharma arises. Resorting to secluded places is the Bodhisattva's practice. Fourth, long associated companions will part from each other. Wealth and possessions obtained with effort will be left behind. Consciousness, the guest, will cast aside the guest house of the body. Letting go of this life is the Bodhisattva's practice. Fifth, when evil companions are associated with, the three poisons increase. Activities of listening, pondering, and meditation decline, and love and compassion are extinguished. Abandoning evil companions is the Bodhisattva's practice. Sixth, when sublime spiritual friends are relied upon, one's faults are exhausted and one's qualities increase like the waxing moon. Holding sublime spiritual friends, even more dear than one's own body, is the Bodhisattva's practice. Seventh, what worldly god, himself also bound to the prison of cyclic existence, is able to protect others? Therefore, when refuge is sought, taking refuge in the undeceiving triple gem is the Bodhisattva's practice. 8. The subduer said that all the unbearable suffering of the three lower realms is the fruition of wrongdoing. Therefore, never committing negative deeds, even at peril to one's life, is the Bodhisattva's practice. And finally, 9th, the pleasure of the triple world, like a dewdrop on the tip of a blade of grass, is imperiled in a single moment. Striving for the supreme slate of never-changing liberation is the Bodhisattva's practice.
Very good. Thank you very much. So now before this is where we left off last time. And so before we move forward, I'd just like to ask everybody do you have any comments that you'd like to make? Any questions that you have? Geshe La, do you have any further comments that you would like to make that we didn't talk about last time?
샤마지 데인다 단다디 nganzo khasandi kola tizi hyugoyola tari nganzo zoode gongsa chok kola nezu khahieji yamaji hiere jena samsons kansana nganzo tsama gongsa chok loma re nganzo tsama ka donan shivuji te deore tanda tsama ka donan te yinbi kana yinba songza ane gongsa chok kodeon dan dewe ke to ne ane mise ki gongsa chok maungbi yansi kola gongsa chok rangi taji chabda sebo shi nambare ti kola ngarang choki
Gishi stated that he would like to add some more points from our previous the previous 9 verses, especially on the ninth one. And today he would like to discuss more on the His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday, and then related to his stuff more, because yesterday we had his 90th birthday celebration, and then recently even on the news His Holiness had talked about his reincarnation and all these things. Since we all are good followers of him, so I would like us to discuss more about him today on the session.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes.
What you think about my topic, brother Lens and all brothers?
The topic of the 37 practices in general?
No.
Or the topic for tonight, to talk about the Dalai Lama?
Yeah, little bit.
A little bit. I think it's wonderful. I think it's magnificent, and the Dalai Lama is such a gift to us all that and we here in the West may not know everything that we could know or should know. So to have you give us some more insight into the Dalai Lama would be absolutely wonderful. So thank you.
배우도 nganzu nupchoba ngeni konshol ichir de ina ya da kegi hakogyonan shin tende tone ya yomaras ni kerangi ngeni tongsun ngeni nganzu lo chu de se sune 배우도
아단다 대인다 상반 이제 가상 공사 쪽 고대인데 다 춘용 그 차네 다가 있는 이마징가 응을 차노고도 왔다 대치네 간담만다잔 장링 춘용 그 차네 안에 출을 때바 연한다 맨한다 간다 샴바다 제와세한다 왔다 장대세한다 왔다 대초를 가딩이 로종을 가딩이 아니 미세기 히델 가딩이 차상지게 당원의 단에 공사 쪽에 총가를 손즈 제열라 아니 대단냠도 공사 쪽 곳에 림보 때문에 하는 명함다 아니 대단냠도라 가르쳐 그래 지금 멍베게 아니 제 공사 쪽 코리게 템바던 로이던들 지 샤게 넘버 나이 그 꾸체 윤림보 때야다 오 덴데게 명나 잡제네 아니 담보 손즈데 제레스 참아
In general, yesterday, all over the world, everybody had celebrated His Holiness the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday. Those who loves compassion and then kindness, and then even if they are not like Buddhist like Dharma student or anybody, but those whoever loves the kindness and compassion teachings that His Holiness gives have celebrated the day, and then had prayed for the long life of His Holiness, hoping that he would live longer so that there would be peace in this world.
다 만속에 배파 신용거 상바다 신용거 차는 잠불링기 내외 뭐삼는 땅 힘에 들어서 사막 도서 삼는 땅인데 공사초 공로야 통보 차용데 공로 구조 대바야 레운데 삼반에 제제서 그렇고 단다 총가대 손즈 지야다 냠도 가가 쪼쪼디 지기 열때 공로야 통보 효 편록여 봐 손자 대다 냠도다 뭐sol라 셈라 센테 히블레기 요레스
As a Tibetan, as well as those other many great people in this world, with His Holiness, age, like he's aging, right? Right now he's 90 years old. So many are celebrating his birthday yesterday, but uh, like many are also worried about his life as well.
다 nganso gungwena sano tangdang cheta masuna gongsa choge zepa thinle te zambulin de la ta cha yetse metse chasang chang cha so tamsa thing yos ta gongsa cho khori ki jigin ro de masuna zambulin de la nang go ya ge chale chasang nang sanjo ro chi.
Mhm. As a Tibetan, I believe that His Holiness has done his best. Like he has done everything he could do in this world. Like he has gifted us everything. For if he has a mission, it's like he has completed everything.
Ta yin na yam 가르세 고라 쉬운 거 차네 다 히데담 샴제담 공사초를 대매 여den이 더솔 산노 땅인데 잠반에 공사초데 원에 조나치네 따반나기지 유궁에 존다부지 다 드네다부지 차데레스 이나야 타마베 나올레 구즈라파디 나네 팩 차고여 손자 다지 나 다꾸 양식고를 깨차 마히랑 해 차고여레스.
Yet, in general, the peace and harmony, and then the compassion His Holiness is providing, the way examples he's setting. I wish like His Holiness is some like a being who could stay like in this world permanently, but since he came in the form of as a human, so in that flesh thing. So he has to leave like by following the stages of life. So that's why the topic of reincarnation is happening.
다때 나는 자 가르쳐 그래. 좀상세고로 다디 가자라고 체크지 뒤선로도 마소는 간소 공사 쪽에 다 가르쳐 그래. 진주 게투 지 샤티 루틴 쟁에게 된데 진주질 차가 바이나 잠불인 데가나 공사죠 maybe 뒤쳐지 샤바이나 당간소 그 간르제고라 간르스 데고레스야데 간소 진주바트 소를 저와 지다 간르지 데투고야나 세야데 간소를 쉬운 거 뼈바sol을 차게 하나다 아니 데데 게투데 솔을 차게 바이나 디 강이 전부 희부지 차게 요레스다
Hmm.
온라인
And
간르지 제투고요.
it's another like peak time for us followers and student of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to think like, how will we survive in this world without his guidance? And so it will turn into a question as well as like a concern for us.
다 이나야 가리나면은 참아 외내서 켈랭고야 차그래라 외내서라 동네 제고야 차그레스 다 대인도 잠반에 가상 하다 메당 지 자와른 보체기 진주바 대파 용에 가면쟁이 차상 그 섭제네는 공사초로야 소와 답제네 어느 몽바 꽤 양시대 녜바도 페로제스네 야 소와 답지 잠만에 따때 폐하게 하게데 잠만나 요래라 아니 때 폐야데 아니 라완롱 바질 폐기 인스네 tendige na chi ta ane te mo ba yang si ngwenzi je sho de ko te ya ane khori ke ta dunzu yo be ga de phodang ge ngene ane chi yang si de ngwenzi che gre es la ne ta te ngan so jenju ge chu ba cha sang ge ta jaram bu chi kon du kong e cha sang ge ta kan da tha ju de te zang ma cha ba es.
Yet, I believe since we all need to face reality, all the followers and believers of His Holiness had like wished and prayed for a successor and reincarnation. So His Holiness also yesterday agreed that like a reincarnation will be there. The next Dalai Lama will become into the world, and he will born in a free country where there won't be any problem. So in gaining like in recognizing the reincarnation and all these problems. So he agreed that reincarnation will be formed and would be recognized by the Gandhin Podang, his government.
다 tenri cheonde chezang yang chenwa chi le ta gongsa chok yang sik de ku kor de ta gongsa dik kol nganso ge pe gongsa chok sada nang chawa ta pyo yungi seda nang cawa da shini nimo dagarang jami ki kecha le sares. Jami ki kecha karil le bre sena kuwam sa chok maungbi yangsi kor tela jana yung le chochin ragu res ya kecha ti le sares chena bazo sanju le chen yo jires. Tendri launde ta nganso sem na la ta chwa chenpo tendri song yezi ji le yung dos.
And then with the talks about His Holiness the reincarnation was all over the media for the past 2 to 3 days, right? And then the Chinese government also stated that for recognizing the next Dalai Lama, the Tibetans need their approval, like as well. So I believe you all must have saw the news regarding these as well.
Ti jana mapi yung de res.
It's the Chinese government.
Namju cheba ina jana ki teden mama mamso gongsa chola pe gamen chigore la chusho ni tepa tos jesun ram che ni gongsa chog jinju che ni chusho la chog tos hyor che ne ane gongsa chog kalo lamden to so nyangli chenge de jana ke mamang de so res mapi yung ka du ina gongsa chola ane khade rinong ba res yanda wata o mamang ke chi jo sangye res yanda wata mamang ke chi nyanyo hyugyo tangye res ne chen rame naso che ta che ne gongsa cho ka du ina kenle ma che ba ma che napo zoya ke thapchi jangjang ji che res.
Mhm. In general, there are many Chinese people who are followers and believers of the His Holiness the Dalai Lama and his teachings, and then they also practices the Buddha Dharma as well. Yet it's the Chinese government who always try their best in accusing somehow something is not right, like how His Holiness is leading people the other way and stuff like that.
Bena gongsa cho ke nanju kuyu songjo tang, rejek socha ke songjo tang rebe ke tohne senje ke papa kwa nan digi mare, senje ke papa teso jencha che nan digi mare sene gongsa cho ke kalo lante chedu zamba ne jana ke tele do ne yang su cha cha che ne pe nang lo la leje pa teso la kangzu ne papa kwa chu ne tende che ne tende inche chigi yores.
For example, for the sake of the lives of the wild animals, there was one time like where His Holiness had advised the Tibetan people to not wear the leather and like those animal skin coated stuffs. And then the Chinese government had taken such actions where the Tibetan officials in Tibet, like the workers over there, had to wear clothes with like animal skin, like layered and coated, stuff like that.
Tā tari ki tucho tela gongsa chu chuna ke mlenge, gongsa chula tepa ta tangsi ta chuna tsa chenpo mtsengi jana mahyo yungdige. Gongsa kundri juigi pa tela chik kanji mtsengi. Tende chuna chik kanji mtsengi teso ke mahyo yungdige. Ta gongsa kundri chunga pa tela hibu tsigi, te nyangsi de nganso ke nguile chigi, yangsi de nganso dan rewa chegu yos, lagu yores. Kunti juigi pa chuna ke male wala, kunti chunga pa yangsi nguenzi de nganso chigi yin lagdi, ta pedi top kala sanu taondi gemu hyo na kar lagi yo na samsan rawa. Ane tende ki ta rewa chenpo legi dus.
Mhm. At this time, the Chinese government, who was like who never had believed His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, right? But right now they are showing interest in the reincarnation. They were stating that they would like the Tibetans need their approval to recognize the 15th one. So the attention which they are giving is really hard to believe, and it's kind of in a way like absurd as well.
Ta tenene nganso ki nguene kar hi tugu desena, jana yung ke pepe ki chö ta ri yung tang, pepe ke yuku gomba hilu tang, mala ta tong tsawa nene meba tang, pepa peche ti se tanya de korang tsu guen ko ko wangi chasi lacha kona peche tango yo bate, ta tene ra chogo dus, tene sepo ji chagdo sango dus.
And then what we can say from this is that the Chinese government has no like no sympathy, empathy over the people of Tibetans, yet the culture and traditions of the Tibetans are being taken as a tool for their political practices.
Tende indi tsambane tang wene chane ke jana yung ke tanda padun zambuli shutso le pepa ya ji chin yue pepi chue di ji ni se anda wata ji kecha xie ne kurang zo ke shilo le di zi xie de de so tsama de zuma zunjang anso ke tengwe re se ne mambo xie ge yue re de tang wene chane rimbi dus pa che ngunde tsambane nganso ke chue ke uti lana me pa 공사 쪽 양시 인체를 컨트롤 제모 제용도 잠반에 다 컨트롤 베베 간 제바 차상됐다 우연에서 많이 받았다 간실로를 차다 제바도 참마데 민상다 도준이 해나 요반다고 임받았다 되네 세보라 트용도
So to this day, the Chinese government had claimed like how they have not taken like the Tibetans under their control. They were stating like how they had modernized the Tibetan in a way, like how back in the days the Tibetans are like how they doesn't have education and then they had modernized and all these things. So over here with their interest to the reincarnation of our spiritual leader. So hopefully, like, the world will come clear what the Chinese government is plotting.
다데 인도 네 휴야 망보다 차스 군다 아니 단단 님보데 네게 나랑서 시제그 추도sol에 레군다디 가르 휴야 요세바이나 천소그 대강라 천소 남주 영예 리파 영예ren 잠불링 네수 칭예레 덴데 임바송자 천소 머레 게르레 뇌네이나 디그 강라 지 문에 자네 달레라마 양식 거텔라 자나라 주도 매바다 직 जैसे को गार्डन फोटो राल यो पता यांसी राया दे यांसी ठुमे राल राया के फिकिंग गेन छासा योरे सेंटे छुन यो मारे ताता तेंदे योरे जाना के जी जेबाइना जुमा जुंजां जी फिगेल तगा जी कोना जो छपसी को गंखोल कुयोंदे जाबाने ते छुन दिगो मारे तेंदे 임바 손다 छरान 중에 이나 장난을 되발라 도나 때지네 수속이 이게 돼야다 텐데 그 톤에 강요 지은 거 잡죠 제로 제스
Mhm. Thank you. I spoke a lot for a while, and I believe like what I would like to say is that I want to request all my like Western friends, because I know you all have heard of the Tibetan stories and everything, so you all do know something. So regarding the reincarnation of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the next one, the Chinese government really has no right over it, and when you guys see in the medias if like some other fake news or stuff like that, please do not believe. And then I wish like you guys can write some comment or stuff like that as well for correcting them. Thank you.
brother Lensky.
Yes, thank you, Geshe. I made a few notes, but before I speak, I would like to ask everybody if you have comments or questions, points that you'd like to raise for Geshe. So please, if someone would like to raise their hand or turn on their microphone, yes, Matthew.
With the Chinese attempt to basically make their own Dalai Lama or the reincarnation, is that something that you think Dharma practitioners throughout the world would kind of fall for or kind of take seriously? I feel like most outside of China, at least practitioners within the Tibetan tradition, kind of don't have great feelings about the Chinese government. I know I don't, not the Chinese people, but the Chinese government. So I guess I'm asking, how much of a threat do you think it is, the Chinese kind of trying to make their own Dalai Lama? Is it something that Geshe La thinks is going to be like a real problem, that a lot of people are going to accept what they do?
Thank you. 공기 투어디 디르샤 카라 다탄다 개민군이 알아서 건축이 양슬렌지 코란스 주기 지금 문진 로직 디차 지나 아니 공랑기 삼나 카랑 알아서다 건축까지 다 진주 발행 알아서 나온쇼를 당고스 냠린 치니님이 망치하기 배치 디 가진 거고 마스나 디왈 투 마리 삼그두스 가지는 간데 간다 게미슝기 간데 체메타 차상티 스코츠디디 잠 페지 두마리 상고도 시나양다디 기실라 응원이 카라 디 강이 도마스나 안디 게미 랑기 콘서 촐린 직도린이 엔도 디치나 슈겐 슈챈브로 디리도 케삼그도스
Matthew, thank you. Matthew ke tuwa de pe masi apundu tanda cheza tang Matthew ke somba nagi tagana re nge ke sem na lo la gongsa chok maung ba kunti juanga ba yamsi chume tagar nang ke yamsi de raya la senti chun mes gongsa chok ke tanda ne lamte nang shak yore la ngarang so pepa nang lo la gongsa kunti juji ba chetang na yin chi ke tata khurang ke gongsa kunti juanga ba chetu ya ke dingchwe da ma so na 차성 따다 땡데 여드레스 다 이나야 자미기 템보 와요 제네 페겔 양시 니바지 콘지 공엔지 제응 거래 삼사 땡거도스 펜션을 뭐지 제와나 이 펜션을 뭐지로 콘조 근코근 든디 제게여레스 디 제게도 잠바 양시 니바 왠지 제응인데 차랑 그 송바나 이 뼈 땅로 영에 로종 영에 전탕 영에 희자 영에 대해서 뭐 통거 말에 대해서 야 뼈빠 쉬운 거 차네 분할로 자미기 전부 완유 제사 망치사 뼈빠 망와데 별로 하대 어디 잠반에 콘속이 야 전부 완유 제사 라차다 보지 찬로 선 디센트 첨부 차도스
Dalai Lama's reincarnation, we Tibetans would be recognize the 15th one in the right way, just like how we were able to find the 14th one after the 13th Dalai Lama passed away. So I hope like it will go in a good way, just like the Panchen Lama, how the Chinese government had recognized like another one in Tibet. So the Tibetans living in Tibet, like most of them like kind of fell for it, but few did not. But as the recognized Panchen Lama was mainly used in Tibet, like as a tool for the political purposes, and many were forced to follow his advices and all these things. So hopefully like the Chinese government doesn't do like recognize another like Dalai Lama on their own and then create like another political issues in Tibet, hopefully.
제자 먼저 지난번에 참아 세보 친구를 벤치를 보지 양식 문제 제사와다 공로 춘춘까네 부코라 잠미게 단다 봐도 해요가 선요가다 지 간데다 차데 하마고야지 단다 봐도 다 잠불인데 간라 매 여기를 보고지 여기를 딱 가슴도서 면도지 라순조로부터 든데도 차데요레스 디기 찹데를 코란족의 벤치를 보지 양다지 춘 문제 제 딩윈진 제제네 벼바초라 더바 메나야 코라쇼스 더바 메나야 제카쇼스 디부구데 두스진 잡아 제주진네 가사칼 코라 티진네 벼바초라 아니 베디 트라디 제주네 데베디 제고 초주네 정와란진네 오 든디제네 단다 코란소 찹된데 로다 로임바든데 레데오레스
As you guys know, after recognizing the Panchen Lama, the young Panchen Lama was like taken away. So we don't know like the existence of his and then even the world media like they also doesn't know. So the Chinese government has came out like has recognized another Panchen Lama on their own, and then they tend to force the Tibetans living in Tibet like to join the prayer sessions and then ceremonies and all these things. So hopefully like things like that won't happen.
뭐 든데도지 마테오 들송알
It's really bad, hopefully. Yeah.
Can I ask a short follow-up? And that is, do you think that the other monastics of the other Buddhist traditions, the Theravadins, the Pure Land Buddhists from Southeast Asia or even China or Korea and so on, do they support the Dalai Lama as we know the Dalai Lama, or are they easily influenced? Will they be influenced by the Chinese government?
ngaransu nangpa gaji de shenpa doyo ra, peshasan ngaransu Asia gaji pajo loshar nyo chodo al Korea tangre, ani ande Thailand da dende ro
Korea.
tang.
음,
Khonsu nanglo dige de ni khonsho ki yangsi ki ande gami ki loga doji ngoy doji zina ya ande chini shuken thepdoya do keyende yorwa.
Tipe misi yabu tinaso kadin ches. Tange sambala tingwene yo mara samsa tingi dos. Khonso te de kanyin sana tanda ku gongsa cho diga follow re yorwa. Tanda ku gongsa cho ki jinju pa yin dingi taso la nga senti chuna mandu us. Khonso la jana ku ngwene ina zembo wanyo chenro sa hira yo mara was. Te mendu zambane khonso ki tanda gongsa cho ki yangsi maungbi yangsi ti kwa zile tanda digi kaan songpa te je sundangare jinju chigres. Junse kanyi sana khonso tanda digi jinju pa re diyor was. O tende inpa songza khonso ki semkhaan zhondro ya ta nekhu te tuya gres te sanga mendu us. Ta kanyi de kawa chigres sana pyo nanglo yo dingi prabha te sola kanyi chigres. Kanyi sana khonso ki tanda jawarampo che kubaji shamba ina zhōngkhāna la tūs lūng rōyā tāng lō chū, lō ngā, tāndē kī tāmbō nyedā yā thā chū tāng jīn lō ngā tā lō chū zhōngkhāna lūyā kī rē dē rēs, tāndā gōngsā chū kūpā jī nyā bā yinā rā dā. Tā tāndē yindē tsāmbā nē māngu bē gōngsā chū kī ndī kī kālō nā yā chū tēl jē sūn rāng wā yinā khōnsū tāndē kāngyē dē chē kī rē. Tāndē yinbā sōng tsā chasī kū gōng kō wāng kī khurāng sū kī jī nguyen zīng jī chē wā nē, tē rāng nguyen zīng chē chū yā tā, tā tā lā shā chē chū yā tā, tāndē chē yā kī khōnsū lā pēt dī mūndō yī jīndō o tende chene ngarang so pachu dunga na yi che ga nyanga yore san ta te sente di ins.
Thank you for your question. Since they are a follower of the current Dalai Lama and the Chinese government won't be able to force them, so I believe like it won't be a problem as long as the people like outside the world, outside Chinese government's control, like in these free countries, I believe the Chinese government won't be able to force or convert them into doing anything because since they believe like they are a follower of the current Dalai Lama, so his teachings would matter most, and then his talks about the reincarnations, they would believe that way more than the Chinese government. But the victims for this one, I believe, would become the Tibetans in Tibet. They would be the one who suffer the most, because even to these days, like we hear news where people are sentenced for 5 to 10 years by keeping a portrait of like a photo of Hassan the Dalai Lama in their home, like stuff like that. So I believe like the Tibetans in Tibet will suffer more.
O tere brother lens ke so na ye che na tanda ngamson Japan che Mongolia che Korea che Vietnamese che Thailand che ta de to kanda ngarang so nambe je kha mangbo ji yore Asia na lo la Sri Lanka se anda to so to samala ji gongsa chu ko mangbe kunti chönga patela 코란조 인문지 제단데 노야지다 근데 용거 상센테 헤라메스 간세나 단다델 진주 베디팅 서버 제되어 봐 손자
Like Brother Lensla mentioned, the other Buddhist countries like Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, and Mongolia, Sri Lanka, all these East Asian countries, I believe since they are a follower of the current Dalai Lama, they won't fall for the Chinese governments.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
A comment about that is, back in the time when the Chinese first came into Tibet, and the Americans were very supportive, as much as they could be at that time, of the effort to rebel against the Chinese. But it was because of the business attitude of the Americans who abandoned the Tibetans in favor of the Chinese so that they could begin to make business deals with the Chinese. And how much leverage, would people, the American government as it is today, how much of that would they use as a leverage, or would the Chinese use as leverage on the Americans to negotiate business deals by using the Dalai Lama as an excuse or as an object for them to gain support or non-support.
Shempa tiyo kharles lana ngima kharayata pa chikdung ugyang of juice tikap tala gyami tangshu penali tu samba ani ngarang suta pyo mi tsogi kempu kaya da tindikab la pai la yu kyo gaji ani inji gaji mi tizuye nyamdu la rokwa do chishas ina yang je la konsu la kharaya ngarang su gyanagi ini chongde gaji andiro yang ma dewa do andiro zudu chonggaji la keben do le teni ani konsu ngolo magiya do jiga Tende dolan ini pepal kanda manda gyab kyo chaya gazi number do di ende tisla ashas. Ta wondi chini ta tanda chala ani gyana shungiya ende dolan ni kile masyo marwa. Kisi di kele na jiji chongde do tala ende do dil do manda do mangbu do su na ende do tende gengi do chini ya ende do chasi maras. Konsho gi di shimati.
다 시당에 게디 zamulin chönyung ne tang de songa ya po ha ko me esra yina ya nga ichi ta rewanda de kar yo se ba ina ni to chugu ne chene shitang me khepa ta me lepa yonge ta masano yonge te soge jami ke jana ma hyo yung ke ta domba de thong sares 상마 하고디 교레스 이시에 나노라 가츠즈 사야게 탑시 지기 투서 가츠스 땅에 탑시 지기 베나 제컵 찍질 파 왕도 도야게 탑시데 단다이나 가츠즈 지기 담미 남주 영에 다 체자 여딩에 다 만체하게 신디 교레스 대자 마체 니동 죽글로 나랑서 코비드 19 라데 깨다 첨보데 Zambuli Chuyung Kuran pe Dapsi Kachozi Treyo Janaki. And Jana Macho Yung Odon de Kachoyo, Tanganso me Peppa Chasanga Tonsares. Then they in Sadu Zambane, Ndodini Hena Janaki, those Titwala Cassandra, which Tremo by Inaya, the Nyas in the Zambane, Nyak Kakzel, Panala Haji Kungarwa, or Tendra, which Ingre, Sansa Teneta, doesn't the Guay Chasares. Then they in the Zambane. Junior ayung samsa chinga dos ta jami won goko matheg rewa jagiyos
Kam jisho kush kabalit ngar kege jidishe
ngo tenne na yi tan de shama ta pa sek tenne
all right so Gishi said he believed and he hoped that the Chinese government won't turn into like how Lancelot was saying, His Holiness won't be turned into like an object or as a trade thing. Since 2019, the world must have seen like by the coronavirus's outbreak, they must have saw somehow like how the Chinese government manipulates and everything in a way. So it was all over the world and also everybody knows like how the Chinese is trying to rule all over Asia, like how they are hoping for. So Gishi hope and believe that it won't become a concern, like even if it is, like people would be super cautious because of the 2019's coronavirus outbreak, and then they will be like, he said it, the example of the fishing, like the hook thing. Even if the Chinese government like thrown that the bait, people will be super cautious, thinking it might be a bait, but they won't fall for it. He was hoping they won't fall for it.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Well, I'll continue. I have a couple points, and we're very, very fortunate in that the Dalai Lama has a huge legacy of books and teachings and practices that he has, left, that we will have for generations and generations to look back on, to continue the Dalai Lama's teachings and to be able to learn and apply his wisdom. So I think that's a great gift that he has given to us, and we need to seize those opportunities. The other question I have is, do you think that the Panchen Lama will be reestablished in the free world? You know, and would the Dalai Lama give some instruction to that? Because once he goes, there may not be enough authority in the other monastics to be able to see, well, this is how we should proceed with trying to reestablish the Panchen Lama tradition.
Thank you. 아니 콩리 칼송슬랑 다 단다 답 상하지 다 단다 콘서초기 테브레 아니 카레 까추레 망보직 안드로 유티sam다 디게디 ngaransu 제마에 파믹다 아니 냠린 체레 간다만데 텐데신 ngaransu 라페 디 린탕 쳔보아지 냠바소르도 데 차디레스 안 ngaransu 게 코겁데 주신바체 아니 갈롭데스 녜레 텔티졸다 도당 참마디 아버체워레스 아니 셴바디 카리케지 티에는 나랑스다 단다 벤치름 붙여가지 다 양시 지금 나랑스 벤치름 붙이 요아지고라 콘쇼 인웨스팅 샤겨디 이나야다 단다 겸이가 주장 가능으로 요레렌데 숨디도 상바 다 양갸도는 나랑스다 가다 벤치름 붙이 콜라디 게처로 히리로 스페셜 다디 벤치름 붙여야지 양시레라 도다 덴데 도지마 숨나마시 니 양시디 컨데스 치레스 벤치름 붙여야지 이건라 죽디두레 컨데레스 카제는 갸나지 응진 샤교 베슈크 첨보도 지가 페바랑 가지디 아니 친진이 전숨 체샤 디삼바 아니 개과야미디다 디토라 컨데레스
Tadi pe mesi ke brother lens ke te yang juja de ya bu hiu ju de na so tu ji ches che za ngan su ke karang shiyung ge chane ta pe ba shiyung ge chane tanda nge gi de ro che ha ko ya je na da ngarang sam so ro shiyung ge chane pe ba ge tanda pen che rum bo chi yang jo ro yang si ngwen ji ke che shi ge yo ma res kan yin se na pen che rum bo che ge tanda yang si ngwen ji che gen jo zhen kan na lu gen jo de 그 해유요 가다 군바조요 타초고요 말이스 하고요 말이스 자나 용그 베디 페게 나노라 가른다 제게나 가와 베게야나 야나 자나 용그 지 세메나야 지 메레바 탕다면조 언제 촐라 제게야나 상네 맨다 간주마 용 때네 야나는 코란속 로종 짬장다 지 때네 페게를 지 뭐뭐 제를 지 베준다만다 지 땅용고 용도 제게야나 상네 다 간다 그 베빠게 대간라 세포 가야 메두 잠바네 양조 양식 계자데 주는 히 표현 하요 말이스 세포제 마차바도 이나야 단다 자나게 양식 nguyên 제견조 그 벤처럼 보체 세야데 벼바 추와 윤게 땅어 가르스고 생휴 영에 만체와는 벤치 주말라고 그랬을라 자나게 이나 보고 코라 보고 독자지 요르서나 독자케 요 말이스 자오름 버치라 단다빠도 세메 독자 휴견 조지다 벼바 시윤을 독자라게 줘 근데 요 말이스 콜로지 차당 루바데 벼바게 요바 임바 송장 근데게 차니 이나메 히 간다만다자 잠미고 코피쇼 코란수 그 산라 삼바 나기 코피쇼데 땅투요 말이스
Thank you for the great point, Brother Lensla. I believe, and from what I know, Tibetans will not talk about the reestablishment of or the reincarnation of Panchen Lama, because we really do not know whether the ones recognized by the Tibetan central government, we do not know whether the Tibetans, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's recognized Panchen Lama, whether he's alive or not, and which is why we dare not to talk about the reincarnation unless and until we get to know a clear thing. If he is no longer there, then maybe we should search for the reincarnation and stuff like that. Yet the other thing is the Chinese government's recognized Panchen Lama, the one in Tibet right now. He was a Tibetan, and thankfully, the Chinese governments are not able to use him in a way they wish to in order to influence the Tibetans. He himself, the current Chinese government recognized Panchen Lama, who was a Tibetan, and I believe maybe him as a Tibetan, he had never accused or spoke bad things about His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He just like do everything under the control of the Chinese government.
I see. Thank you. Another point I think that's important for us, and we've said this in different ways over the years we've been together talking about, the influence of Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism and the culture and so on. We have the books, as I said, but we also have many, many, many great movies, both dramatic movies that are, taking stories from the Himalayan region, all the different countries there that are Buddhist countries, and many documentaries and so on. And really, I think it's incumbent upon us to seek these out and to look at these and to be able to appreciate what the Tibetan people, what the Himalayan people, what the Buddhist people in Asia, what their culture is like, how they live, how the Buddhism is a thread that goes through their lives and so on. I've watched many, many of these movies. I mean, I have quite a few, and we've discovered a new way to be able to find new movies and so on. And almost every movie brings tears to our eyes, heartfelt tears that we can empathize with the Tibetan people, with the Buddhist people and so on. And just sometimes it's tears of sorrow, and sometimes it's tears of joy, to be able to see how they've been able to withstand this oppression that they've gone through, but still manifest joy and happiness and compassion, so on, bodhicitta, in their lives and so on. And it's a great inspiration and should mean so much more to us in the West. And so whatever we can do to encourage that, I think we should continue that.
아니 란슬라기 셴바 카리 송에는 다 페베기 추규리 아니 안데 culture 라오라 리슝기 균이 안데 로시니 다 야마 슈겐테 샤교아지 테비어레 송사 디거는 신기 movies len 때문에 안데 쳔보여레스 만스타 히말라야 가지 리규기 테 가지 미리디수기 아니 네당레 콘츠기 간디로 칠루 체단도는 엔디로 데모에 리만더도 페몽보레스 아니 덴디로 카운티스타니 야고요레스 아니 리슝토니 도토나 아니 리슝디게 바 페바도 차샤나 남베야지 게캅도 지시 나운실라디 키드니 요데교 로지시 아니 마냠도 트라샤교로스타 아니 엔디로 kablan zamzam tindegaji temutis다 투zam바 응어스코라 초르투도선 손에 미추양 셔라도다 닌제게아레 카리네 상마이냠도 연구도스 아니 샴바 칼송슬라나 아니 잠잠 디 카라 교야가지 체니 믹슈에 등급도 잠잠이야 가야가지 믹슈에 등급도 가지면은 안데 타견다 슈켄 와르예네 아니 야 디기도 세데 투야도다 지 찬주심가지 냠네 요서로 지 체니야 덴데로르니 지 딱한테 미세인데 진케도 투야도 덴데 상무통데 상부 빼하고도스
Brother Lance, thank you. I have one request. All Dhamma brothers. Nek rewachi di kari insana, ti insama inchi karisana. Tanda brother Lance ke pepe ko lonye ko lo sonsoa. Ane tari dawa kashi ngwe lo tembares chugi gandu se lonye chi. Penche chena ba chi shina zitsayo jires. Kisi te zitsamena yinji menchi chik zuro chis. Kanyi sena pesa kandrisi hyo yome. Pesa hyo ne gongsa kuntri gyuge pa chenpo choke gonglo chudu ne pyoge ngende kandrisi ne tsu ki goya cha yome. Puku chun chun chik. Puku lo chudu chik rida. Inji ina teenage ina chila na high school nongerwa. Tende chiki dus tsu ngende len chene ina jana kangi hibu tre wundu ta pyo dena amma ten wanda wachi ta tsaso la nyenka yudu ina jabjo la jaga la jabjo la pyo ya ta pyo du tsamba ne ina chugi gangru ka maami se du tsamba ne pyo ndowi kang song ke Talang mami ya tuan chene, ane jawarambochi kuyo sonjo che chene, ane jagala tsu dende hyuyong bata, ane jamil susu katsu tutu ki maa kante jayo me ta, ane arike te kaloroda siya, tanan konsolo majong te wata, arike ropa nangto le katsu jayo me ta, teso kol temo sebochi yores, te ziro naas ke si zimena.
Since Brother Lensla mentioned about the movies, so my request was that there is like recently a few months back a movie regarding the Chushigandu was released. It's a film regarding it's a movie which shows about how His Holiness Dalai Lama at the age of 16, like a teenager, who took the responsibility of the Tibetan government and then how he fled to exile and how the Tibetans this Chishigandu is like a army like a soldier team which was formed by volunteers all over like Tibet so that they can um, escort His Holiness Dalai Lama in a good way like on his all the way to like India.
Shushi gamru ki den alno la manachi yores ti chanril haja lagre tingi ashan tumru res nge amak jojo dres khodi shushi gamru ki densin chi ga machi chag yores.
And then the Chishigandu, the soldier team, among them there is a guy called Shangril Hagyal. He is my mom's brother, like my uncle. So yeah, the story talks about how the Tibetan soldiers like tried their best way in fighting the Chinese governments and the armies while escorting His Holiness the Dalai Lama to exile in India. And then they also mentioned like how there is a in Colorado state of United States, the Tibetans were trained and how U.S. Navy had helped in providing like the guns and all these things, the equipments through like airline. Thank you.
Yes, I need to know the title of that film, and I'll look for that. We've seen versions of that, but also we have the account of Geshe gave his account of his escape from Tibet, and his brother Dorji gave his account of his escape from Tibet, and Yangshan gave her account of how it was that she escaped Tibet. So we have that in a manuscript, and it's been translated. It's in a transcript, and we hope that we can put it into a book form. And we need help to do that, you know. So those are things that would be very meaningful. But you know, the story of the Dalai Lama is very, very powerful, no doubt. But to hear Geshe's story, to hear Dorji's story and Yangshan's story, because these are people we know, and these are people like us. You know, they're not Dalai Lama, they're not high lamas and everything. They're important people as they are. And to hear their stories is really very, 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 very important. And when we can combine that with stories that we know about maybe people that are families that came from the Middle East, or families that came from Eastern Europe, or people that came from Spain, from different parts of the world, for religious freedom, and to hear those stories and to understand what it means to be free and so on is very, 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 very powerful. So I'm encouraging everybody to engage in helping in every way you can.
Lens like you conscious gaji mitsu logu ti da rangshin gi khora mi changmal ta be di shuken shu chambuti ra ti main ba ni gishla zenjol phedang re doji che ani nga che nga zu sama pheni ya le dang gaji tin dung de ha khor sa di ge di khande ngo shim ba do che mi kyu ma rang do indu sam ba yang dung de khodu this manda do source res.
Thank you, thank you. Nganzo japjo wa lenjo nano le pene tsutus jen cheto paun jo ke semna kange chekhe de karasana pamatuya mara tres.
And then Gishi is saying that Tibetans coming into exile, their biggest trouble or their suffering is not being able to meet their parents.
I have a comment and a question. One is there's like an irony or something of I was just finished reading Garchen Rinpoche's biography, and I felt myself getting very angry at the Chinese when I was reading it, of all these horrible things that were happening, and it's horrifying what happened, and I wish it didn't happen no matter what. But there's also a great irony of, like, because of the Dalai Lama having fled to India, because of teachers like Geshe La and everything coming, it's like many millions of people ended up getting exposed to the Dharma. And I've heard lots of people say that this current Dalai Lama, for that reason, might be the greatest Dalai Lama ever, because he's become like a world teacher. Now, I would rather myself have never met the Dharma than that happened to the Tibetans. That's definitely not my point, and I think it's good. Of course, it's horrible, and I'd rather never have found Buddhism than that to happen. But it's I don't know. It's a great irony or something. But that was just a comment. But my question was: is there, in Geshe La's opinion, what is the best charity that helps Tibetan people? Or the best way to contribute to the Tibetan people?
Thank you. Digital tambo kamen dojik ya diche di karin lana kongi diloins garchen rimpoche ki kara loki missing zabanam di lo du zambani dinang lo liani yamishung gi zenure chazang thongai dosani digit thong du zamba kara lungla soda chazang pe chongsons 아니 그래 딱한다 배바지 된대로 어디 경기 친이 칼라
제제메게 로바지야 데 가르치야 뭐라.
Yeah.
Emotion, sorry. 제장 때려 향한서 we are sorry. We both sorry.
No need to be sorry.
Yeah. 이인다 좀 가르쳐 버려. 다체장 들은간서 라네 소디마데 세당 디 코위그 동에 당에 송고 동에 걸 로고 따디 베베 동에 간 로서한테 따따 진두에 엔두 등에서 나오지. 안에 제장한서 가치를 보체래 안에 되나이게 제부 담바래 간서 내외 문화래 대속에 로주 망보 요레스 브라더 렌스 그 som바나 히트 솔라 천속에 zero 제다 응외내서 마도 주마추는 거예요 말했어 저 가서 띵세던데 거야 레스 제장한서 신고 차는 차가 바이나 단단한서 배발을 가서 구두 거야 돼 가르고도서나 배바가 내서든 잠불리를 세보줘야 돼 간서 배발을 가서 구두지 차거도스 단이세는 재미게 로힌 라만다체 딩두그 추찬 라만다 베혀 땅 코란소 멜 라만다 쭉체네 베베게 내수 주마망보 히버지 잠불리를 장고도 와서 뇌마인바 대초 천안 중고만 코와제네 시제 카가 못해서래 베베게 뇌 내수 짱마 짱장의 가리임에 배 달랄 재미게 달랄 간디스 효여메 당봉 오마데 배 재미게 라팔 마효응에라 배데 람시게 제가 간디임에 아니 재미를 효와다 재미게 제네 간디스 제임바 짱고름 보시 접조를 간디스 트레임바 단다기 지키데 정고는 뭐지 지게 지문에 전에 마저 무구위가 토네 아니 히데게 탈랑 컨디스 땡이바 대소 더 잡아 세보조로 제고야다 전속 세보 친구야데 베메시게 제보 차고도스 아시마
Yeah. Gishi is saying that uh, so today instead of talking about the sufferings of the all sentient beings, we are being more focused on the Tibetan sufferings. Oh my God, sorry, excuse me.
Okay.
sorry yeah waste time somebody
Mm. Yeah, so Geshe is saying that since we can hear like there are so many Tibetan newses like in the medias, but many of them like sometimes are kind of fake. So he thinks the best way is for the best help would be like how His Holiness Dalai Lama is trying the um trying everything in a non-violence way, just like that, by believing in those things. And since there are many other great books, just like how Matthew stated, like Garchen Rinpoche's biography, likewise there is His Holiness the Dalai Lamas and everything. So the stories mentioned in those are real, and yeah, so those are like the real stories. And the media ways, like how it could be played by the Chinese government. So do not like believe in all the news reports and all these things. Yeah, so just he just wishes like the like his answer to Matthew's question, like the best charity way for the Tibetan issue would be um clarifying like how you guys have read those biographies and all these things, so you know the stories, and like correcting people would be the best way. Thank you.
somebody donda dodo de teinda pena jami ke pepe ke loju la junhe se wora chohe hamba chene ta zembo wanyo ran chene garhe ge yeme tji ha kwa ya chi che ana pepa rang loju ngene de kandi image chimbe ke thone ana shije mana kha yi hyen pa ta lotru ta ana ngune tane ke tende ke mana to solpa katsu ina chi pa to chapturo chena ne tengan sol japjo khacha gutu ke japjo ya he dere de hyas ta mamang ke japjo le ha chi jingan sol japjo mundus.
And then he's saying like how the Chinese government is plotting like their own stories and everything. And so please let your friends and students and everybody know like how the Tibet issue is like a real thing and all these things. So ex expanding it to people, like people recognizing the issue, and then that would be like a voice.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. You know, one of the tragedies that's happening right now because of the Voice of America and Radio Free Asia has been silenced. And so there's not the transmission of information between the free world and the world in Asia behind, you know, in Tibet and places like that. They're not getting information, and information isn't coming out. So we've talked to some of the people who have worked for Radio Free Asia that what they maybe one of the things that they should do is to engage in YouTube or something, creating channels for themselves to continue their work, to be able to bring the news as best they can and to be able to retrieve news that's coming via the internet or however from the people that are being oppressed and so on. So whatever we can do again to encourage that and to support that, I think are things that can be done. You know, we're always looking for a quick and simple answer, but sometimes it's just hard work that has to do this and a change of attitude about how we're going to do things. And from those changes, great things can happen. From little things can come big things. You know, the Dharma speaks of that all the time. Just changing your mind to adopt Dharma teachings and be able to practice them and so on, that comes to liberation, comes to enlightenment, comes to freedom, comes to helping other beings in many different ways. And not to get ahead of myself, but this number 10 and number 11 that we're about to talk about with the 37 practices have everything to do with this altruism and wish fulfillingness. So we'll see that these words are and thoughts and prayers are embedded in all these scriptures and so on. It's not something new. It's something that's been happening forever, and not just in the Tibetan culture or the Asian culture. It's happened in all cultures. It's a story of mankind. And can we change it? We can change ourselves. We can change what our sphere of influence is. And that's what we need to take responsibility for.
Thank you. 아니, 랜슬라기 가르송 때는다, 당당 알아서 수수수수로 기와도 땅이, 간들러 안들어 직전에다, 간들 최낭로 레슨 거래, 아니, 지기 안들어 기와도 땅 안들어 신다, 파 캡페로 두라스, 지기 체고선, 아니, 게더도 마스나 코두라스. 아니 디마임바체 다 탄당하는소 라레낭로레네레 주어다 주진이 이야기니 셴펜도 라오라 간다 랑시메 요가지 도당체 덴데도 강라 송드 잠바니 온데 차두두스
다가랑 빼면서 한번도 도지체스. 야장 단단한저 브라더 렌스 그 som바나시 단다 쭈바다 주지도발라 샴축 생고로 송인 거로와 아나 자롬버체 잡선체 샴축 생고 냥레 빼데 체다 뎀바 체 톰보 체딩이 임바 송자 자밀 칸이 층에 세야데 자롬버체 그 송양주 츠 수지 때 여다마르 단다 봐도 장나경라.
Like Brother Lansla stated, the 10th and 11th verses of our 37th practices are talking about the altruistic actions and bodhicitta. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama, as a life form of a bodhisattva, he is a true practitioner of the bodhicitta. So all over the medias, like as you guys know, we have never heard like one single way or like where he states like how the Chinese governments are bad, nothing like that, right? So this is really like a practice of bodhicitta.
Teta nyamdo nga tandachi ngarang rang magye ke samsori chi khunde karachung sena gongsa cho ki shamchu ke sem nyane che ngone thane ke ndrowa me yung ta senji tsama kanda jinju ke thone ke dewan do pa ta dungye mende pa jinsung se de gongsa cho ke hena ma sebo song ne che ne gongsa cho ke jana la su se da chi tsnyen da wa ta mambe da wa de chi manam de chamba ne ane papa nalo tsuwa nopo rezung ki ane jawaramba chila khatangi deya yungu res.
As an individual, I believe that since His Holiness the Dalai Lama being a great practitioner of the bodhicitta, he never stated like any bad words or anything bad regarding the Chinese government. So among us Tibetans also there are people who doesn't like that point as well. They wish us like since they are being too like on So they doesn't like how His Holiness is not saying any bad things regarding the Chinese government. Yeah.
He's not confrontational.
Uh-huh.
He's practically employing the middle way in every opportunity.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, please, does anybody else have any comments or questions? Yes, Alex.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting off the video. My phone is overheating. But I just want to comment on that because I was really struck by His Holiness words and actions during Kalachakra, for example, during Kalachakra retreat in DC. He even asked people who seem to be advocating some forceful action or maybe confrontation to leave the Kalachakra initiation, and he even mentioned just what that fact that there is some positive in this dramatic story of Tibetan people. There is some positivity there that this leads to Buddhism spreading all around the world. So I really felt very truly touched by such kind of we can say unconventional thinking, but if you think about it, that was true bodhicitta is about. Maybe you can translate that.
Thank you. 아니 콩로 차셔나서 콩쇼기 까당 아니 알아서 자와 치루 체당 로셔라 디기들 빼 대바당 안디 US 아니 미세 알아서 통공원지 qabla nyama disilo 통공원지 dinangde zamba 아니 디디 간다 콘쇼기 자 치루 체당레 아니 까추 디게들의 덴데신 대업에 슈첨부게 송스타 디 응원에 호라 알아서 chanjusem nyamni chini chigrang rishas ngaran so ye me betoni andiro ni sunga ro che tendiro songs
수제체 다랑레다 공리기 디 벤nen가.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, if I may, there was another time where His Holiness Dalai Lama was at the actually NIH, National Institute of Health, where I used to work, and he was giving a big interview with NIH director, and I have to confess, I was very lucky to be there, and everybody wanted to be there to hear what he had to say in relation to science and progress of medicine and how we do the experiments, and what can lie for us in the future. But there were some people from China that on the way back, they were keep propagating this story from Chinese government that's saying that His Holiness is really have different intentions, and His Holiness is like a wolf in a sheep's skin. And I was totally speechless when I heard this from people who just seen him and could just witness what he's really about. And I don't know, what can I say to these people? Like, how can we confront those kind of narratives? I don't even know what to say. We don't know where to begin. To suggest that kind of idea,
Yes, how do we overcome delusion like that
Yeah,
in other
delusion
people?
like that. Yes.
Yes. Yangshin?
아니 거기 갈송슬란다 아니 냐마 코나지라 치사 델레 카라이기 지가지 트레덴까지 렌조로 지라 찰레넌디 삼본 디딜라니 콘쇼 라 카라타 티그도 지도스 아니 원디디 룬다 규니 카라 젠디까지 렌신디라 아니 코라님도 답에 코야라 송스 콘쇼가지 까쉐디게디 onde tu sambani ngansta nangche da chingri dewa yoro da dendro ko pe ang busung sung sta ti kalop sang sa sa je da khons pha lo tu ti samba nyam dula kalop di ni ne ga ji gyami mi jo ka she she ra khonsu gi khara ani khons nang gyul ge ja khandro shi tu na ani khonsho di khara jangi lu pa ba khön di gyo sor do sung ni ta kanda ge ja she dang di pegi la bat kecha 강사 뭐 강사 pat lo to chini gyu tu tu ta tende khande ina nanya tende ro songs
Taranta. Continue, Alice.
Yes, I don't know e- either is such I just don't know what is the history of this kind of narrative, but like I personally never heard anything negative or even something that's contrived to somehow undermine anything, any kind of positive dialogue that can be between Chinese government or Chinese people and Tibetan government, Tibetan people. Dalai Lama was always positive, always like always bringing any religion, even atheists. He like most Chinese Communist parties, he accepting everybody and want to bring them into discussion. But when you hear this kind of word that he's really is something else, I maybe Rinpoche could say maybe a story or something like that can help persuade such people to think otherwise.
thank you kongi khasons landa konrada konsho aji kalore 망보지 니뉴 되선바 안데 제 초뉴메 라샤 간다 두아 도온데 도제 초뉴메 카드 이네 지 렉베차 샤다 통디니 엔 단단 미디즈기 nga랑소 안데 콘쇼리아 안데 다 체메 소르슨 거라다 장기 카타루 파파 돌라니 안드로딘데 컨테스트 직 시투기 연나래 도셔라 가진 코라기 칼로망부니레 가리네 간다 안데로 누가 도제 처음 송스타 원디치니 니 딜라 페도 타니키 믹스로 직 숨어에너 직 송다스다 지겨라 미디 존데 딱 가리 와라 딱 팀샤였나 딱 간데 이네 직다 기시아지 통수로
제자. 단다 콘소게 자원은 보체라 루파 준비 상기 생에 지다 지체. 아니 카데 루바 세딩에 단다 자미 용거라 디 만족 세포티카라 하고 드세나 로치니 콘라 다가지양 근코 왕 공사초 나포즈에게 체도 위던다마다 또 스tam바레스 공사초게 지겐의 상제 제된조데 코조게 로파르즈에 제네 양 공사초를 체메혀야게 된데 배주 땅에 중벌레스 아니 제자디 리치 간조 가라하고 드세나 자나 용게 로송 간데 땅에 간조 지지니니 게 하고 그 매대 간나 만다자 자나 용 랑게 마포 용 rang ngwende duchine leka che dinge ke tendri tachi jami rang yopati sebo sechang re khala tenano lo pepa ya rezon tanga mendo samsa ke tendri ke ngansola topa yungu yores tati koranzo ke mchendi ke chogu ke chedo chige yo kata yang kare jana yung rang ke lega chetang de masuna charang lega ji gyung reyo ji dik gyuna le thusar sansa midela di lega de maje baina charang ama de chi chi inda sean ro jojo de chi chi inda namil chi 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 tata de chu gu minda sean ro de gra ko de de ngam so pe ba ha ko di go res de ki chembe rezung ki chende mena ya maje ranje chaya de yung yo sares.
Mhm. What we can clearly say from this is like there are many ways, like how Alex mentioned. They were stating His Holiness as a wolf under the sheepskin thing. Yeah, so there are like many ways the Chinese government is interpreting His Holiness all over like the medias. I don't know like how they are having the control of the medias, but in a way they kind of do, like how um maybe past 2 years His Holiness compassion over the little boy, like how the media has misinterpreted it into like a different way. And so somehow like I don't know how they are being able to brainwash the people in a way they see like matters this way. Or it could be like the people are doing this for the sake of like benefits of their own livelihood as well. Maybe the Chinese governments are paying them, and then they are doing this for their own like sake of this lives. Or it could be like they are doing, the Chinese government might be forcefully letting them do these things by taking their families or like parents and at hold, and then telling, if you guys don't finish this mission, your parents' life would be in danger or stuff like that. So like anything could be possible.
Well, I'd like to ask somebody else. Zara, would you mind? Do you have any thoughts about this topic? What do you think of the Dalai Lama? This is a time for actual celebration, and we're celebrating the years that he has been living and brought his skillful means and wisdom to the world and so on, and how we can carry that forward and be able to support the future Dalai Lama. May it be many years before he's born, but nevertheless, this is a time for reflection and thinking about the Dalai Lama. Do you have any thoughts about that? Your microphone is muted.
Thank you for the question, Lance. And to be clear, is the thoughts on what he's done for the West or just for the world, his contribution?
Well, what do you think about it? I'm just trying to ask you to comment on what your views of the Dalai Lama and what he's done, what he's doing, and so on.
Well, this is just sort of my, as Matt was speaking, I believe it's his, I mean, he's doing his dharma. He's doing his mission for mankind. This is his purpose, his higher purpose. He's doing his work. And it's possible that every human being in Tibet is also doing their dharma. Like, even though we see it as suffering, they may have come back for the enlightenment of what's happening now. They may have knowingly said, now we're going to up level and we're going to go back into this very difficult situation, knowing it's to help others become free. So that's another way that I look at all of it, is I see it as a beautiful thing as the Tibetan people have done for the world, that they've taken on suffering to help free other people, other sentient beings.
That's Yangshan.
Thank you. 아니 코랑기 가래 통주로디 시에나 아니 또 건쇼 코랑기 가래 추까지 디게 대 순고레 아니 알아서 로웨 텐레 텐 강자에 니에데 오레스 아니 간다만데 디게 베 제팅 제버팅이 디수 그냥 샤교로 통고두스 아니 별로 이게 미디졸라 단당 안수 nga랑 sungen tadang china ya khonzo shu kang ye the dige roshta sina ya chisina khonans nang lo la ande le dang che da dige changma ya shenpa cho kachi zholani da khanda ya shensen gaji ngo gi gyuni le dong de insigire zholan songs.
Thank you.
Gunga, do you have anything that you can say?
I look on the Dalai Lama as a living bodhisattva, and I think that he's a wonderful role model for how we can deal with adversity, and how we can dedicate our life to our spiritual practice. Thank you.
Thank you.
홍리기나 건수형 알아서 전주 셈바다 무서 kushalemba tongodos ani kong aranzo gaji mikbe twingi gaji kansa ya budo jigeres ani aranzo kandilor ta kangi do karitene dige changmal yama lalenda anjiro che ganda dendiro cheni tongodos.
Thank you. Exactly.
Bernie, would you like to contribute your thoughts?
Okay, well, I have a lot to say, maybe. First, I'm just going to talk. I don't have any real questions. First, something I think a lot of people don't realize is that the Dalai Lama's first task was to unite all the Tibetans in exile, because in Tibet, there was really a lot of distrust between the different schools of Buddhism, between Kham in Eastern Tibet and Central Tibet, and how much they really didn't trust each other. And it really was the first job of the Dalai Lama to unite all the Tibetans together under his leadership. And he really did a wonderful job of that, to the extent now people don't realize how difficult that was. It really was a very difficult job. I can give you a lot of examples of the distrust, but right now they're sort of gone by the wayside. And so there's no point in bringing them up. But the Gelug, the Nyingma, and the Kagyu really didn't trust each other first when they came out of Tibet. So he did a wonderful job of bringing all the different schools of Buddhism together under the leadership of the government. And then he did a wonderful job transferring Tibet from a religious government to a secular government, which is what they have today. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to keep the Dalai Lama as their leader, but he insisted on setting up a secular political government to take over from the religious government, which really has no place in the modern world, I think. So he did these two great transitions that a lot of people really aren't aware of. So that was the first thing.
Why don't you let Yangshin translate that?
Yeah.
Thank you. 아니 공기 mix and tours 캠에서 나다 직시행이 아니 당보딜라 아니 미망부지기 하고고 말이스 카리 하고고 말은 건쇼기 말한 저 진주 농로로 유교 배워 차상로 수 도자 직지는 조직 어느 수로 루시 두샤교디 아니 망부지 하고고 말이스 아니 배샤샤는 예마도 차샤는 카량한 순난 귤어야 페샤촌이레 감촌이레 우촌이레 난귤어 이치디 슈슈민도스 아니 건쇼 가딩기 아니 다 탄다 ngaransu 고엔디 kananglo leine ringing mada kalkyu gaji chugu thangmalo chunyamduro ji denro chongdisam tadi kule shu kyo resina di mi thangwa shu hakondus ani shembadi khalaila nani ta thandangan su khare tindu gaji dilain du zambani pebadi nyamaina ani chejo gaji thonda lamada dindegi shungzin shagiro jires ani di ngosu khare siwang gaji shungjil phasen ini sikyong nani ande logayang di cheres 아니 원디롤링 딱한다 콘쇼기 베 카레 젠졸 페니 디낭레스
되게 덴바레 단다
콜 돈도 승에도
안토니오
Thank you, Bernie. You can continue.
And well, the last is a story I've told before, but since it's kind of amusing, I'll tell it again about the Dalai Lama's first visit to the area when he came to Washington for the first time. He was a guest of the Trungpa Rinpoche Center, which at that time was called the Dharma Datu, and their center was down in Georgetown in Washington. And I went down there to hear the Dalai Lama's talk, and I got there early and asked them, well, is there anything I can do? So what they did is they handed me a plunger and said, we have 2 bathrooms, and if the Dalai Lama needs to use the bathroom, we set one bathroom aside for him. But the toilet is stopped up. So what we want you to do is to unstop the toilet in that bathroom. So I was in there in my suit, of course, and I was wearing a suit with the plunger plunging the toilet, and I did happen to get it unstopped. So I'm thinking that if I meet with Yama, the Lord of Death, when I die, I'll just count that as my most meritorious deed that I fixed the bathroom for. Actually, he never used that bathroom, but just in case he was going to use it, they needed it fixed, and I did plunge the toilet and I got it unstopped. So
Well, that's a good story.
that's my
Let
story.
Yang should translate that.
공기 가슴산다 샴바디 둥지시아요 싱게마이 시인스 콘쇼 탕슈 나랑소 DC 나쿠라 탕슈 페디삼바 원디디 최소지 조스타운 최소지 요레스 아니 다르마 다툴라 이레스 최소딜이야 원디디 삼바다 콘쇼 이카추나 이레샬린다 코 페이카 블라닝가 되치돌란 트윈스 콩겔 레디샤스 안갈 레디 삼바면 페일 키스티 아니 로고로 케고도스 아니 디슬랭을 레슬레디 페일라 상준이도 슬래샤 다 상주要绿的下估计看来俺做상주了嘛俺这都请主要都是俺这考都的去去呀几月都让咱们学的我俺都的个你等都去得送第상주的估计咱们学了去的看见那空手机去那상주的必须当 serious我的去다 간다 아니 공기 다 페이 콘쇼칼로 냥갈 리드 잠보 수트 퀘니레 임바라 수트 깡티 상주디 슈디 첸라스 야텐 로chen 다 간다 상주디 마 추강자 야부신 숑투스스 고 상주 야부 돈예로 차송스 이나 타마델라 콘쇼기 상주디 피슈 땅마송스 이나 다디 녜기 카라다 게웰 레소르 로치니 키야 요아직 차르네 딕사리스 렉송스
Thank you.
계속하면
So that's all I have to say, really. Hope people found that amusing. So
디 아니 카라 미사마기 둥디 냠부 소리야까지 레아이스.
I did, Bernie. Thank you.
An awesome story.
네. 뭐야 지금지 두제 체스 번닐라 아니 벨 디와이나 산주 쇼응에서 잠반 디지레가 좋아라 시그레스 두어라 시그레스 이나에 최기 생휴 첨보고 토네 근데 생을 태송다 남도나 가메베 토네 두스제야 최신 템보 히오렌도 왔어.
And Geshe stated that in Tibet they might consider like the person cleaning the toilet like using a plunger and all these things as a like low class job, but you with no intentions and like helping it without thinking anything, wearing your suit and then you were doing that, that's really great. He respect that and yeah. That's it.
당기 번이게 대강 대지 송송 상반지 대가 초나 다가랑 인고에 간조 다 시제 미기 공사절로 도난 때단다 배바 미기 공사절로 도난 때다 배드 카가 통고도 배바 자차 고나르다 만체완다 오지 배바 간조 만체와게 가르스나 니마네 마 주바 파마네 마 주바다 공사조 산지레 진레지가 남주레세 된데랑치네 이 샤샤제야 마도 공사조 제랑 손바나기 공사조가 샤레 가르나요 깔레 가르자요 제바티네 가르짱요 벽이 체도 가르제요 잠리 찌기 체도 가르제요 시디기 체도 가르제요 메딩원에 레레 깨차 티바이나 하모고 배바 빼망부레 샤스 된데 임바 손자 원에 전에 공사 쪽에 남타들 또 힘비게 토네 공사 쪽을 대발레 들어지나 때 대바 ጻ마다 어능문에 전에 수술이나 셈나라 히데 연족에 대바다 아니 대바 미세들에 하스.
Mhm. And regarding Bernie's, the way he was saying how people don't realize, I believe like um, the the followers of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the Western ways and then the Tibetan ways. Tibetans, most of them are like we are born and then it's like a culture, traditional thing. Like we were born as a Buddhist and then we are followers of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He is the like what is that thing? Reincarnation of Avalokiteshvara, and then by believing all these things, we just follow him without realizing those great tasks that he had did, his sacrifices and all these things. So the Western ways of like how you guys are being a great follower by listening to his teachings, and then that form of believing and then becoming a follower is truly the pure way. So he really appreciate that and respect that way of believing, which many Tibetans are lacking.
I'd like to add a comment. I've read or I've heard that the Dalai Lama at this time is spending a great deal of time in his own personal practice, and that preparing himself for what is happening in the government, what's happening in the in Tibet and so on, in that situation, but also preparing himself for his passing, and so I'm wondering if Geshe might, if it's not rude to ask such a question, what kind of practices might the Dalai Lama be doing, thinking about? Would it be something like the Bardo Toda? Would it be like the King of Samadhi, the Tigné Zen? What kind of practices does he think that Dalai Lama is engaging in now?
아니 란슬라지 티와디 카리인라나 아니 다 탄다 코엘라 아니 콘슈기다 투즈 망치 아직 수수 냠레 소르라니 엔들 강 땅고레스 아니 마랑소 다 탄데 슝라 페슝데라 카리도 니츠 카리도 라해 두체 아니 페낭로리아 아니 니츠 칸데로 두체 아니 톤도 공리까지다 마랑소 디 양시레 덴데 강라니 안데 졸린다 니미리다 냠레 소르라오라 다 키시 티와디 디스 카레 control share theta mena ani khari ke thina nani khonsho gita thanda nyamne nani sungdu sambata thuzu thongba di zona nyamne do share di ni ngarang so phardo kang nyamne do nang gi na yang na tingye sing sor kang la yang nyamne na ta nyamne khari do kang nang gi na slani on di ke just the is kishla
tuji che se ana ngi hakkoyala disi hakkoyala 공사 쪽에 남내 냐에 연나 메나데 샴추가 셈데다 돔니도 비셔러니 데레스 공사 쪽에 같이 이나 미다 마소는 해지야 마자나 마도 연나 메나데 타입에 마게 셈지 탐지에서야 돼 송제네 나는 두나 군주 동에 커 동에 나카 강화 효세야 돼 로라다 나버다버다 ane china dewa choso ngo pende nangka kangwa shos duna kunju dunge khor dunge janso kemba shoselane ane jisin rowa ne chopa tensi dana ne jone rui dunge sewa jisin nangka ne chopa tensi dana ne jone ane karasaro rui dunge sewa shoselane 간다 공사 쪽에 냠내 유해나 메나데 셈지 탐지게 동에 세야게 체도라 아는 샤레 가르난 거고도 페네파 로덴 지야게 수속의 띵엔지 거네 이나레 아나 돈이도 비혀라 고야 이나레다 근데 그돈 간다 연된 짱짱 투상 얘는 유데레스다 공사 쪽에 냠내 세나 마세나 연된 데레스다.
Mhm. From what I know, his practices are bodhicitta, and as long as he opens his mouth, it's always like for the sake of all sentient beings, for the cessation of the sufferings that people are going through. It's always like this. So whether his practices for samadhi and then the bodhicitta, it's always the altruistic mind, the bodhicitta way, like for the sake of all sentient beings, and then for the sake of cessation of the sufferings. As long as the world, like people are living in this world, may he live so that he would be able to reduce the suffering.
당이 간다 전다 도도디 가르쳐야 요새나 여름보 책이 찰레 가른 남바다 냠레 가른 남바다 대초 가르 요바이나 코랑 그 책도 자원이니 나 구구요 말스다디 지신 난카 내바다 로 지신 내줘바 대시 다는 내주는 로이 동네 세월 효세도 난카라 빼디 존타 메바 나기 그 로와 된데 망보 여런 로와 대초 그 동네 마세게 버돌라 아니 이게 로이게 된 같이 제투도 효도를 빼는 거래를 콘솔을 삼바 구구에는 가 삼바 차와 효세 한다보다 거래 걸솔을 도로 구혀는 가 도로 차와 효세 하존다 타나 든리 투상 인체리 예제네 어느 다 연된 장자레스 냐네 연하면은 다 연된레스 투지체.
Mhm. In short, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama's action or practices are always for the sake of all sentient beings. As long as there is no end to the sky, right? Just like that, he always wishes for the cessation of suffering and then help others for the sake of like all the sentient beings, so that they doesn't need to suffer. May he live and help people.
나디 브라더 렌스게 바도 토도 걸지 송사 때냥같이 자고도 단도 듄이 해바이나 공사 쪽 마음바 소소 가와제다 머제다 디 야사길 제게 체도다지 마랑토지 곰세한다부터 냐네세아존라 지어라 티춘 고마레스 다 공사 쪽은 도 듄이 해바이나 간소 제와데 코리 간데지 제고산라 연된 제사지라 대바 용해자지라 nga랑 속에 대바가 쪼로 제바이나 대바다 단치다야 이치디기 쪼바이나 어느 공사총 안속에 마 체도 패야라 라마 톱데레스 베나 nga랑서 산이 피겐 로고 상나 이게 따다요레스 다디 자샤 자레.
And then, as Brother Lensla had mentioned, the Prado practices, I believe like His Holiness the Dalai Lama doesn't need to do any like Prado practice or stuff like that. He can control his own like next life, for the sake of like as long as we all can believe, I believe like he can choose where he wanna reborn as, and then in that way.
대가 삼성이 투쟁.
Mhm.
Do you think that at some time in his life that he would have studied the Bardo Todal or other such books like that?
건셔가지 미스나올레야 파르도 당레 데니로 강라 유교아지 다 탭도 요라 데니 강라 장유 요르웨스.
때 대중에 지진이 세보 힘메스군다.
Sorry, I'm not really sure with these practices. Yeah.
공사 쪽에 시당 나효를 빼면시게 데 즈자 첨보레스 천자 첨보레스 만족 니 휴식메스.
And then His Holiness is the Tantra ways practices like the Pardo and all these things, the Tantra, right? Those practices are really like vast, and I really don't know much about those, so I won't be able to say anything.
I see.
조첸그 거대 공사 쪽에 니마가 라마자는 추휴난 거요래 공사 쪽에 즉 나쇼 그 용 자체사도 소대 라마 시체 담바 가사카니 휴제는 참만도 휴 찬요도 지티 나타나라 세보여레스.
And then His Holiness the Dalai Lama's in his biography, there are clearly ways where he had like learned or studied all these from other great like Nyingma teachers and Kagyu teachers.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
다 드린 안저 정말인지 뒤쳐디 가르쳐 그래. 조지 단다디 공사초 그 고던다 대단 총가르다 데위 토는 로치네. 안에 도슨 로선 스테이티 양안서 란레서 된다 만데 완다부터 야 질로라 마보던데 중에나 군다 휴인스.
And then Geshe would like to apologize because today's session was mostly focused on the His Holiness the Dalai Lama and then his 90th birthday celebration and like that, not on our like topic which we were supposed to discuss, the 37th Buddhist like practices. So he would like to apologize if that didn't go well.
I think it's no problem at all. I think having this conversation and this discussion was very, very useful in being able to appreciate the Dalai Lama and also the culture, of the Tibetan culture and the way that the Buddhism is practiced and so on. And being with you, being with Yangshen and so on has maybe awakened us a little bit more to how heartfelt the thread of Dharma is woven in your very fabric of your lives and so on, and it really is it's an experience for us to be able to see it in you, and we really appreciate that, and thank you very much for bringing that, allowing that to come up. And Yangshan, thank you very much for your skill in being able to translate this for us in both ways. Thank you.
아니, 텐데 순구 말이 라샤 배하고 조송스 아니, ngaransu konsho kola sung konsho la jesu irang ya kia da android chongsongs ani digang khara pebegi ani rikshong digang tole kejaroshi ani ngosu khara da tawa 딱 android 딱 간다 chini 텐데 tole litu samba chini 배하고 chongsongs ani tojiches.
Thank you, brother. All brothers.
Thank you, yes. This is like applied 37 practices.
Ingresu nyamlensu lalen la kesha gyuroshdus.
Thank you.
Yes. So, does anybody else have any other last questions or comments that you'd like to make? And then if not, we'll go on to our dedication prayers, but we want to give everybody an opportunity to express themselves. And next week, we'll continue with the 37 practices where we left off.
일단 다들 정말 ngati 가르친데서나 brother lens ke somba nahi pena nganso ama tingre pala tung sare dunge yungdo ta ngeni gi emotion menjo de inda tare ane cheta tindille ondu dunge da yungu dude ina chana somba nahi lalen so dun ta shanchu sembe lalen te so sano tam ro chön yung dunge la sano tam yung de zamane no suso ke dunge de rahi ma churu tang tuya da ji nu karase or ma cha tuya ji da ngene che tuya ti tendi yung du kading che.
And then Geshe would like to thank because of the topic we were able to take the suffering of Tibetan people as a way like where we can practice our own 37 practice in a way like how we can empathize and sympathize as well. So in a way it was kind of good practice as well. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you. So if I can, I'd like to recite the dedication prayer by Lord Jigden Sumgun, the founder of the Drikung Kagyu lineage over 800 years ago. And he's considered to be the the second Nagarjuna, many times called the second Buddha. So it's very significant. And in that lineage, all the lineage of these great masters, we see the lineage of Buddha Shakyamuni. So we share in that, and we're grateful for that. And if you have Guru Yoga practice, Lama Yoga practice that you would like to do at home by yourself, this would be a very appropriate time to do something like that. So the dedication prayer by Lord Jigten Sumgön, if you have the red book, it's page 36 and 37. Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root and lineage lamas, divine assembly of Yidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yogins, Yoginis, and Dakinis, dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate word of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Sravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Maras, and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such and the pervading clarity of Dharmata. May I, in any case, gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. Om, Ah, Hum. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones, for the benefit of all sentient beings. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, Yangshin.
Thank you, Yangshin. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. We'll see you next week. Thank you.